Did you feel your eye? Did you see the eye coming? So, so this eye and all this. So having all these tools, as I said, it's really helpful when you are in a situation like this, when you're about to panic. That's just to see how we completely misperceive the whole thing. Has anybody made an experience where it worked? Where you were able to let go? Because as long as we think there is an I, there will be anger and attachment, because it's that one that produces it. Maybe we do a meditation on that tomorrow. How this very strong, how it reifies the good qualities or the negative qualities of somebody. And how it's very difficult then to let go of these projections, of the scenes and projections. I mean, even after 20 years of practice, if I dislike somebody, I can go in my mind, well, it's just a projection of the mind, blah, blah, blah. All this. But I tell you, that projection appears like really real. Yeah, so it doesn't look like a projection. This is the thing. This is why always, does it look as if it is merely labeled? And then we have to go, no, it looks really real. Yeah, just that. Again, this appearance and how it exists and all that, slowly, you are able to let go. And I think maybe we're more ready to let go when we really see how we suffer. We suffer because of that. I mean, if I dislike somebody, who suffers? Me or the other person? More. We usually think when somebody dislikes us, we only think of ourselves and, oh, I suffer. We never think of the other person. But when you are like calm now, nobody dislikes you, who do you think suffers more? What, yes? Yes is not an answer. Who?
He does.
The one who dislikes or the one who gets the dislike?
Dislikes.
Yeah, we think, right? You think that one suffers more?
Yeah.
Huh? It depends, but okay, maybe it's a stupid question. Who do you think has more power? Who is less who has more power to do something about this?
The one who is disliked.
The one who is disliked.
Of course not, the one who gets the dislike. You can get out of that person's way. And that's it. If you dislike the person, that person has so much power over you. And we don't see it like that. We really don't see it like that. We don't even, this is why also it's so difficult for us to forgive ourselves when we dislike somebody, because we think we have a choice. You have no choice. As Asaf says, it's the karma. It depends on the karma of the person. Yeah. So there again, we hear all these wonderful teachings on love, compassion, patience, and all this. We go out full of inspiration, and then somebody comes in our. I remember me also not so long ago, after a wonderful purification 4 days. I really wanted to go home. I tell you why I wanted to go home. It was like 2 hours train ride. Because it was Wimbledon and it was the final. So I really wanted to go home. So I wanted to get that train. There's a train half an hour later. But I wanted to get that train. And those people who were supposed to bring me to the train station, which I could have walked actually, I really didn't want to miss that train. The people, they were chatting and not coming with their car to pick me up. So I was standing in the street with my little suitcase, and I was going like, and then, but then this is it. Then that's it. That's the beauty of the practice. It still comes up, but then I burst out laughing and say, "What are you doing here? Gosh, all this work, 4 days of hard work purification in 2 seconds because of Roger Federer. It wasn't even Roger Federer in the final. I think he was Nadal against him. I can't even remember now. Then there's another thing. Then it seemed to be so important. Now I can't even remember who was in the final. I saw so many Wimbledon finals. I can't even remember who it was. I can't remember. Oh, this Djokovic. Yes, he won. Yeah, so that's what I mean. So we think, there's also when somebody dislikes you, try to have some compassion for these people. Really, we always think, oh, they should not, they should like me. Why? Do you like everybody? So why do we think everybody should like us? Seems normal. Well, of course everybody should like me, you know. So this is why we then see, you know, we suffer because of those negative emotions. That is why it's important. And then of course we try to work with the negative emotions as well, there's no here anymore. As we try to, you know, like we talked in Varda's group there, how this is not the ultimate solution and all this, just to work with your negative emotions. Of course not the ultimate solution, but there's no way you can realize emptiness if you have a lot of negative emotions manifesting all the time. And many people don't even see them as negative emotions. This is it, you know. So we have made one step further than others. And this is why sometimes spiritual practitioners are quite shocked when we start to see how much stuff there is, which if we could give it away, we would definitely give it away. And then we try to suppress or, you know, negate or not being, make excuses or whatever. It's much better just to say, yeah, okay, this is what I have. This is what I have to work with, because this is what we have. So it's no point looking at the Dalai Lama and thinking, I wish I'd be like him. Yeah, me too, you know, but I'm not. But it's thanks to these practices that he got there. So this is why it's so important to know all these things. Otherwise, you know, like lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, we apply antidotes to anger, which are not an antidote to attachment. And, you know, the antidote for anger, which is patience and love, you cannot apply it for attachment, because then you get even more attached. You start to generate love for your object of attachment, then wow, you know. And the antidote for attachment, looking at the ugliness, that definitely doesn't work for your anger. That increases your anger. Yeah, see, I was right. It's a really ugly person. Yeah. Whereas this one, wisdom, seeing things as not inherently existing, that one is the antidote for everything. But in order to be able to apply it, as you very nicely said, you need a very special mind to do that, you know. And but it can be, and it has to be trained. So we just need to maybe put some emphasis into training the mind in the right way. I know that these days, you know, modern days, like a lot of emphasis is put on intelligence, and intelligence knowing about outside things, yeah, and how things work and all that. And this is great admiration also for intelligence. And if the mind is trained, you can come up with all kinds of things. Unfortunately, there's not so much admiration for kindness, I think. You know, sometimes it's even, I was giving a talk to young people, teenagers, and one of them said, well, what if kindness is translated as being naive? This is how far we have come. That young kids who would like to be kind are frightened to be laughed at and to be called naive. You know. So then I just said, well, okay, some people might think you are naive, but definitely not when you're kind to them. You know, when the kindness comes to us from somebody else, we don't think it's naive. We like it. We're not saying, oh gosh, you're so stupid, you're always kind. Why don't you can't you be a little bit more unkind to me for a change? Be courageous and shout at me. We would never do that, is it? Yeah. Then it's not naive if somebody helps you. Yeah. But if they help somebody that you dislike, then it's naive. And ooh, they exploit you. And we also exploit others, our friends, isn't it? These high expectations that we have towards them, that they should always be there for me. And if they're not, then they're not my friends anymore. We have these expectations. They should always agree with me. Again, if you probably don't agree with me, because that's very, very subtle, these expectations. Who are the people that can hurt us the most? Our friends. But then they're not friends anymore. Ex-friend, ex-husband, ex-wife, ex-friend. Do we have ex-friends? Do you divorce? You know, like conventionally from in a couple, at least we make us, you know, like we make it known that we're not a couple anymore. Do we do that with friends? We should actually. When we should have a marriage with friends, so then at least also they know that they should behave like our friends, because very often they don't. Has it ever happened to you that somebody thought that you were their friend, but you didn't know it? and then they were disappointed because you didn't behave like a friend? Has it ever happened to you? Yeah, and they feel terribly hurt. Because you, on that subtle level that they never said anything, did not notice that you are but you are my friend. Yeah? And we do that all the time. We decide who is my friend. I see that sometimes when people introduce me to somebody else, that this is Rita, is my friend. I could think that I know that. And I have to be careful what I'm doing. Yeah, because there's a lot of expectation. Actually, sometimes I feel like saying, oh, I really? Didn't know that. And it's exactly those people then that feel hurt afterwards. You know, if you know it, then of course you can try to behave as a friend, but if you don't know it, come on. Yeah, it's difficult. So that's conventional reality. It's very difficult. Whatever we do is wrong. This is another good thing about Buddhism, you know. Whatever we do, we try here also sometimes we try to discuss what about if and this and this and this and this and this, because we see this absolute right and absolute wrong. There's nothing that is absolute right and absolute wrong. Yeah, that doesn't exist. So we have to use wisdom and look at our mind, and the clearer our mind and the less confusion and the less anger or attachment, desire, jealousy, pride is there, then the purer also the action becomes, and less kind of me or I or ego involved. How was the meditation? Was it somehow, did something become a little bit clearer or more confused? Anything is okay, you know, this also the nice thing, anything is okay.
I think for a few minutes it got the eye level lower.
I got, when?
When we finished the meditation.
Yeah, but also I think maybe at the moment your eye level is not very high, is it?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It got it a little lower.
Oh, it's not going to keep, unfortunately, but that's okay. And how does it feel more pleasant? Or does it feel frightened?
No, I felt calmer.
Huh? You felt calmer? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else would make some observations?
I feel more relaxed.
You feel more relaxed.
Because I don't put expectation for me to understand something.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's very good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Now what is that?
Yeah. You see, our life is very stressful already from the high cost of everything, difficult to find a job, it's difficult for your kids, for the teenagers, maybe they have unhappy marriage and this and that. It's so common these days, an unhappy marriage in young people. I mean, it's quite rare that people are married only once these days. That's become very common. So there's a lot of pressure already from just, being able to survive. I mean, of course, 50, 100 years ago, people had to work very hard also, but more physically. Yeah, it was more difficult to survive because you had to maybe grow your own food and all this. That's very hard work. But I think in terms of mental stuff, they had much less to deal with. Much less, And this, this mass of information that comes from everywhere is really not helping. And then we think we have to, especially as one gets older, you think you have to grasp everything and you have to be able to kind of, do everything. It's like we put pressure on ourselves, It's so relaxing just to sometimes say, oh, I don't understand this, but I'll keep looking, just like that. Yeah, or sometimes when we feel this huge pressure that we have to solve everybody's problem, then we think, okay, I'm not a Buddha yet, but this is why I'm practicing, so maybe then I have more tools. Yeah, we tried sometimes because these beautiful teachings and they make so much sense. We try to be selfless and have, concern for all others, and everybody has been our mother, and all that, without being a Buddha. So then we burn out. Of course, if you don't have the skills and the selflessness of a Buddha. I just talked to somebody the other day, and he said that there are people sometimes they have so much compassion that they don't see any danger. And he talked about the war, that he was in the war, and then they saw a truck burning, and they were like in the shelter, but they didn't have helmets, and they were trying, and the bombs were kind of falling around him. And then his friend just said, "Oh, maybe somebody is in the truck. I have to go and check. I have to go and check." So kind of he didn't know what to do. He didn't have the courage to go because he didn't have that kind of compassion. But yet also he didn't want the other one to go. You know, all the games that go on. He didn't want the other one to go because he thought that the other one would never forgive him not coming with him or whatever. And it's like, but then an ambulance, an armed ambulance came and looked, and there was actually nobody in the truck. So I also said, this is what we do sometimes, you know, we want to do these huge actions. When the mind behind is not right, then it doesn't come out. This other one with his compassion, he might have been able to run, you know, the compassion protects somehow. Maybe he wouldn't have been hit by the bombs, but if you run with fear and confusion, I don't know, it's a good thing. And so I think there also, this is a little bit our job to see, what can I do? You know, and then not try to imitate people that are selfless and wonderful and all this, and then feel bad when we can't do it, or try to do it without having the capacity. I don't remember who said it, but I think it's the Tibetans. Don't do lion's deeds with the rabbit's heart. Do not do lion's deeds with the rabbit's heart. Do rabbit's deeds. Rabbits are nice animals. They don't harm anybody. But they run really fast. You know, I took this example. You remember Usain Bolt? I don't know if he's still very fast. This 100-meter run. Is he still top? You know, any rabbit can run faster than him without any training. But never gets a medal. And he's so proud about it. Whole life is just to train the body. You know, just to train the body. Of course, there's a lot of other things that come with it. He comes from poor family and all this, so he worked his way up. So it can be very inspiring for teenagers. But, you know, and then
run in a straight line.
And then the fear of somebody else being faster than you know, that comes with it when you're successful like this. Whereas if you're successful in your destroying your negative emotions, then you'll be happy. Anybody who is better than you is great. You know, no need to be afraid that somebody is better than you, because as you lower your negative emotions, you also lower your sense of I and me. So the pride, you know, you can't lower your negative emotions if your I then becomes really blown up and look at me, I'm so great. Yeah, then there's no way of lowering your negative emotions. So whoever is better than you, you actually rejoice. Why? Because you can learn from them. Yeah, and you feel protected when you are in their presence. Okay. Anybody else has noticed something in meditation?
I noticed that I'm very confused from the book, and I got depressed from it, literally.
You got depressed, yeah.
And
Good.
And suddenly through the meditation, I try to see that this depressed is interdependent, not interdependent, okay?
It's not independent, yeah.
It's not independent. Yeah?
Definitely.
So suddenly I took follow
Good.
it.
Nice. Yeah, and then it goes.
Yes.
You know. This whole thing also, if you really got hurt and you think you cannot let go, it's because you never look at the I that feels hurt. You only, you rehash the situation, and by rehashing, you repeat in your mind, you bring the memory. You force yourself almost to remember the situation, and and then of course it comes up. But you never look at the I, or not even the I, just how does it feel, this hurt? Because if you would just go inside into your mind, you would have to let go of the situation. And then then it can heal actually. Only then. Of course, you know what you said. Now again, please, 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 do not jump to the conclusion that Buddhism says, oh, everything is karma, therefore everything is okay, and there's no I, you're not going around saying, I insult Geshe-ma, and then she says, Rita, what are you saying? And I say, oh, Geshe-ma, what is hurt? Look, there's no eye, so why do you feel hurt? Is your body hurting? Is your mind hurting? What is hurting? Are you your body? Are you your eye? Are you your mind? You wouldn't go like that. You don't do that. So when we go about hurting and all this, we only think when I got hurt. Then we work with this is my karma, it's my responsibility, but now it's finished, I can let it go. The other person has this negative imprint now and will have to undergo the same thing in the future, which then creates compassion instead of anger and all that. But when it comes down to I have a right to do everything, it's not like this. And also, of course, on a conventional level, good is good and bad is bad, but it's just conventional. Again, it's not absolute, right? So there are certain things in certain societies, this is really bad, and other society is really good. I can't think of an example right now. Can you think of an example? Oh, in Switzerland, okay. Switzerland, to show that you are well and rich and all this, that's bad taste. Italy, you show off when you're well. Otherwise, they think there's something wrong with you if you hide it, right? Switzerland, Germany, I don't know, maybe also this kind of falsche Bescheidenheit, this wrong being humble is like you don't show off like that. Then you're a nouveau riche, So, but you still want people to notice, that's the truth. So a little bit like that. So there's nothing that is absolute. But one tries as much as possible. In Buddhism, it's like, if you want to put Buddhism in a nutshell, do not harm. As much as possible, try to help. As much as possible. And if you cannot help, at least do not harm. That's Buddhism in a nutshell. That's the essence of Buddhism. And then again, what is harm? Harm is when you have the intention to harm. Sometimes we harm others without intention. Your parents are very attached to you, but you get married and you leave your parents. Or worse, you don't want to get married. You don't want to have children, which is quite rare. That's why it's so difficult for Israeli parents when their children decide not to have children. So on one hand, it is harming them. You see, this kind of idiot compassion, I just do whatever other people want from me. Well, you wouldn't survive very long, I don't think so. You'd be totally burned out and very quickly in a psychiatric clinic if you want to fulfill everybody's wishes. So you use your wisdom. What's the least harm and what is the benefit, right? So what? So are you going to get married even though you don't want to, and you're going to have children because your parents want grandchildren? Would that be your definition of compassion and repaying the kindness of your parents? Yes, I mean if the happiness of your parents is more important to you than your own, then you can do it. But and it's not like that. Our happiness comes first, isn't it? So as long as it's not like that, you would get married, you would have children. I don't think it would be a good thing. Your marriage would not be very happy, and also you would be resenting your kids. Every time they're not doing what you want them to do, you go, I didn't want you. It's what children sometimes tell their parents, isn't it? When they when they don't want to do what the parents say, I didn't ask to come onto this earth, you wanted me, now you can have me. Isn't it? That's what kids say. So then what are you going to tell your child? I didn't want you. Go and complain to Safta. Right, so we use wisdom. We always use wisdom. Please, please, please do not become absolute. Yeah? When you hear about compassion, we help as much as we can. And actually, it's only compassion when you know that the suffering can end. All the rest is pity, and you get sucked into it, and you get very emotional, and you can't bear it, and all that. That's not compassion. That's pity, And you only have this because you're attached. That's based on attachment. You're attached to that person. If it would happen to your enemy, you could actually be, maybe not happy, but you wouldn't be so in distress. And sometimes you're actually happy, Also, what I see what happens not only in this country, but when we try to take actual situations, we always take very big things. That most likely we're not going to be in a situation like this. At one point somebody asked me, what would you do if you see somebody robbing a jewelry shop and you would know that this person's mother is sick and needs an operation and he doesn't have the money and you would have the power to stop that person? What would you do? I still remember that question. Maybe 15 years ago. You have 3 guesses from where the person was from. It was in Tushita though. So I said, then the kind of the wise mind, okay, I could now sit and think, what would I do in such a situation? So I'd be prepared. Now, I start from the back. Yeah. Then I was now I'm 62, then I was a little bit younger, 50-something. Most probably, if somebody robs a jewelry case, as a 40-year-old woman, I would not have the power to stop that person. So starting from the back already, that we can, that's not a possibility. To know that this mother is sick, I would have to know the person. To know that the mother is sick, he doesn't have the money and needs an operation, I would have to know the person. So that we can also exclude, right? So why think about something?
It's a classic.
Huh?
It's a classic. It's a moral test. There's a moral test.
It's a moral test, right? Okay.
No, there is a moral test.
But now,
Using this question.
I think what I do, though, if somebody steals my money, then I think like that. Could be that this person has a mother and who needs an operation, and with my money, I pay that operation. I contribute to the cost of that operation. If there's nothing I can do, then, I might as well start thinking about certain things that might be helpful for me. So this is the wisdom that we use, Because otherwise it's like I suffer because somebody stole my money, and what's the point? His money is gone, and suffer on top of it. You have 2 sufferings, right? So that is like skillful thinking. So you learn that with time. You learn to use these tools. Yeah, like even small children. An 8-year-old in New York, grandmother's purse got stolen. So the 8-year-old said, Grandma, now you have 2 possibilities. You can either be happy about this or unhappy. There's so much wisdom. It's your choice. But because we have planned that nobody will steal my money, then we think, okay, nobody is allowed to steal it, therefore I'm unhappy because something happened that, should not happen. Things get stolen, or lost, or whatever, it's not the end of the world. But also again, ego, I, me, because my money has a tendency to blow it out of proportion, it becomes disastrous. Or somebody is unkind to you, you need to tell somebody. Have you ever felt that urge? So the whole, if you should put it in the news, Facebook, the newspaper, you need to share, it's no good, Facebook is no good. You need somebody to affirm that, yes, that's bad. Because you yourself, kind of deep down, you don't really believe it. Yeah, so you need somebody who has the same opinion as you. And then 15 days later, somebody says, what happened? You say, not important. It loses its freshness. It loses its whole thing. So we can, if you train your mind about a difficult situation, you shut up for 15 days, and you don't create negative karma, because after 15 days you have no more urge to. It just fizzles out. It goes. Things that make us very agitated, and we need to find a solution. The problem solves itself with time, very often. Okay, so yeah, that's a very good example. You feel depressed, and then you look, hey, is it just jumping on me like this? Oh no, there's causes. And then the depressed mind is a very exaggerated sense of ego. Like thinking, I should understand. Why? I should understand. And then I don't, so therefore then it's kind of an anger towards ourselves. So it's a mind that is very, very just focused on me, And you totally shut out everything that you did that was good. Everything that you understood until now is forgotten. It's only that I'm an idiot, I don't understand. And everything else that is good is shut out. And actually it projects into the future, and I will never understand this. And then you freeze it. You freeze it into time, and it becomes eternal, and it becomes real, and it becomes true. As you say, yeah, okay, who is depressed like that, you know? Actually, a good antidote to depression, which we never use because we don't see this as antidote, is if you think, well, it could be so much worse. You know, the depressed mind wants to have it better, and then gets depressed because it's not better. But when you think, but thinking in a realistic way, how it could be worse. You know, on top of the problem I could have, for example, no friends, or absolutely no intelligence, or I could be addicted to something, or I could be homeless, or I could be, I don't know what, you know. It's always something that could be worse in our situation, that could happen just like that. And then we look and we go, oh, actually it's not so bad. Sometimes the help against depression comes from outside, when somebody comes along who has a much bigger problem than you. I still remember Ribu Rinpoche. You know, he used to have tea with him in his room. So I remember somebody was like complaining, no, it was Antonio who said, yeah, because he was also sometimes there, that he didn't want to go to Australia. So he was complaining about going to Australia. Then Ribu Rinpoche he was in prison in Tibet. So he just started to tell stories what happened to him in prison. And he would usually tell the stories laughing. Kind of, who could have such a crazy idea to do that to us? So he said, you know, one day they had this crazy idea to tie my hands behind my back, and they left me like that for 3 or 4 days. And he said, of course, I couldn't lower my pants, so I needed to go to the toilet. Everything went into the pants and all this. I was just sitting, I couldn't move, couldn't get up and all this. So the one who has to go to Australia, you know, very quickly, your problem becomes very small. Very, very small. Yes, that was his technique to kind of show us, hey, come on, you people. Right, okay. So I thought what we'll do is another kind of, it's not really a meditation on emptiness at all, but it's a very nice technique that the Tibetans have. It's a meditation which is called Tonglen, which is giving and taking. Now, if we really understand what this means, it is not as relaxing and nice as you think it is. Okay? Because what it means is you take the suffering of somebody else and you give away, mentally, in your meditation, you give away all the good things that you have. That is, for somebody who is new, perverse. Totally. And again, it was an Israeli girl. It's true, you know. The things that you say sometimes, they are so profound. So I think it was a whole evening on Tonglen, or a few evenings, can't remember. And, she was so angry after the talk. She came, what are you telling me? You are telling me that I should give away everything that makes me happy, and I should take everything that makes me unhappy, and then I will be happy? I said, oh, wait, I didn't say that you will be happy after that. That sounds what you think. But I said, anyway, what are you doing now in order to be happy? So she says, I try to keep everything that I like, and I try to give away everything that I dislike. I said, and does it work? Are you happy? She says, no. So I said, okay, why don't you try it the other way around? You know, we've been trying to satisfy this ego, this me, this I, since beginningless times. If we would have succeeded, we wouldn't be here. So why are we here? Because we have not succeeded. So we, you know, how we are sometimes. We don't know any better methods, or the other method is too difficult, too scary. So we just continue in the same track, knowing that's not going to work. That's what economy does, you know. We know that we're destroying the planet, but we don't know anything else, so we just keep going in the same direction. So this is the same thing with the self-cherishing. Yeah? So now, be careful, because sometimes they say, oh, Tonglen is to destroy the ego, and then of course you get frightened. You have an ego. We have many egos, you might have noticed by now. Yeah? So the meditation we did this morning, that's a very gross way of looking, you know, it's not a very subtle way of looking at things, because also the I that loves is merely imputed, is not truly existent. But still it's a better way. We start to see which kind of mind states we want, or which kind of ego you want, you know. Like a bodhisattva, for example, also, you know, when you say you have to become selfless, Bodhisattva says, I will be a benefit to all sentient beings. I by myself alone. That's a very strong ego. You know what we talk about ego? Ego is not just in the negative sense. You know, it can also be good sense, like healthy self-confidence. I think in Buddhism you wouldn't call this ego, you would call this mind states. We mistake it for the ego, it's just mind states. And you don't need an ego in order to have these mind states. We just, when we don't look, we think it's the ego, you know. So, anyway, so a bodhisattva needs a lot of like very strong, healthy ego. So you're not destroying this ego with this meditation. You're destroying the wrong view about yourself. Or the self-grasping, self-cherishing. You know, like ego I appears. You noticed it. You know, I only have to say a few things. You have that thought. There's something coming. This is what really hit me for the first time. I sit, I meditate. In, out, in, out. Total space in here. Nothing happening. The thought, I meditate. Shoop. And it's there. Have you noticed this morning? So where was it before? Where was it? Where was it? Is it truly, if it's truly existent, it needs to wait somewhere for you to think, you know, the code word. I, and then it knows, oops, you know, it's my word. Like on stage, you know, you listen for the, where you have to go in, then you listen for the word and then you go in. Is it like that? It's not. It appears like that, as if it's waiting somewhere, but it's not. Right? So this I appears. So the appearance again is not the problem. Maybe the ones who have been here the first course with Geshe-ma, object of appearance, object of engagement. You remember? Does it ring a bell this morning? This is why it's so important to know how the mind works, also in order to understand this. Yeah. Okay. So. But that we believe in it, that it's truly, really there, that is the problem. So we believe in it, and then we start to cherish it. Then it becomes the center of the universe, out of this misconception. And then we try to gratify it. And then it creates all the other problems. Yeah? So, one way, what the Tibetans say, that usually this I, me, is my best friend. Like, I treat this I much better than my best friend. Sometimes even better than my children. That is maybe the children are more important than I, me. For your whole life? Millie says for your whole life. You run every time your daughter needs you?
Not now, because I know it's not good for her. But instinctively.
You never ever said no because you didn't feel like going? Never ever? After she was grown up?
Yes, I say no, but it's difficult for me.
You never ever say no because you don't feel like going. Do you see what I'm saying?
I said no.
But why?
Because you
Is it always you say no because it's not good for her, or do you sometimes feel, oh, at the moment I really don't feel like going because it doesn't help anyway?
If it doesn't help, I won't go, but if it helps,
No,
I
don't
will
be
go.
so clever now.
Yeah.
Okay?
I usually automatically
Not usually,
say yes.
sometimes. Usually I'm sure you're a very good mother, usually.
No, it's not good. It's just attachment.
Don't be so convinced. You're still in your beta state. Be careful. Have you take the maybe
It's
state.
not good to take me because I'm very worried mother and attached and
But being a worried mother, it's
Okay,
not thinking
so-
about your children before you think about you. It's kind of the opposite. You said it in the
I
discussion group.
think about them before me.
No, but
About their
but-
goodness before mine.
but if you're
Always.
worried-
This is what I'm saying, always. If that is really natural, is it always? Because I always think about me first instinctively, right? Now you think about your children as Geshe-ma said because it's an extension. Yeah, right,
Yeah,
okay.
I think about them.
But in general, I think even parents sometimes have, when children are grown up, you have a moment where you say, oh no. My brother always wanted money from my dad. So then there were moments when my dad said no. Not because he was thinking about his happiness, because he thought he was asking for too much, finished. Not being so philosophical about those things. This is my money, why would I give it to you? You have a job, Okay, so usually we think about ourselves. And we treat this I or ego as our best friend. Like we try to give it what it wants. I mean, how many times have you have you tried to fulfill it? I want this, like she the studies, me more, I didn't even know what I wanted. So it's like, you make plans, you have a certain kind of life. If you can fulfill it, you put a lot of effort into it. Because there's some I or me who says what is good for me, what I want. The coffee shop, oh gosh. The list becomes also here in Israel longer and longer, how you want your coffee, short, black, not too hot, lot of milk, only foam, no liquid, only liquid, no foam, but still afu. It's like, who decides all this? Poor waiter, it's like, and if it's not exactly the way you wanted it, you send it back. These stupid coffee machines, it's like everybody expects having this perfect foam who is eternal and permanent. And if there's no leaf on it or a heart or something, it's also like already no good and So these little things have become so important. So terribly important, because we're not thinking about the waiter who has, he must be an artist, therefore he's happy when he has the opportunity to make a leaf on this thing. Okay. So we treat this one because what I want, this is what I want, this will be good for me. This whole thing, it's good for me, right? Going to see my children is good for me because otherwise I feel bad, for example. That can also be an attitude. So they say if you try to always give it what it wants, then it will stay with you and it will like you and it will not want to go away. Whereas if you stop giving what it wants, that's the Tibetan kind of view, it will run away. I'm not sure if that works with me like that, but it's good to see, because when we start to do the opposite what it wants, it really opens the heart. This is the thing. Why? Because Tonglen you won't get the suffering. The point is not that you suffer. The point is that you do take the suffering if you could. The point is to increase your courage. And if your courage is increased, your ego, your sense of I or me decreases, if it's increased in a good way. Yeah? Oh yeah, there's a lot of buts there.
If we only, most of the people, we think first about ourselves. What fuel true compassion? Is that only suffering? The true, authentic compassion.
Yeah, it's to understand suffering as undesirable. If you don't know suffering, there's if we wouldn't know suffering, we wouldn't have compassion. If somebody is sometimes we have people in Dharamsala who are mentally so far away from their bodies that you can poke them and we had once a girl fell down the hill and she broke her leg, her foot here. And I went down with her to the Delhi hospital and it was an open fracture. And so the doctor said, I have to see whether the bone is broken or not. There was a hole. Because, then I had to go to the zonal hospital. But I said, just hold my hand. She was holding on very tight to my hand. And he went with his finger, he went inside, right? So all of a sudden she starts singing. And she relaxed my hand. And she was somewhere else. So then, because I was looking after her, so I got to know her really well. So what happened, she had been abused heavily as a child. So she would just have this ability to go. To disconnect to the body. Whatever would happen to the body does not mean she would start singing or something in her head. And she had this ability, even like with this broken bone, to almost anesthetize herself. So that's quite amazing, isn't it? But yes, what fuels compassion is to see the suffering of somebody else. And to see also, like when I said compassion is to see the suffering, to know that the suffering can end, so that the suffering has causes. Then it becomes compassion. Otherwise it's just pity and you feel bad, Like anger, each of these mind states, they have a function. So anger has the function to hurt. Yeah? Attachment has the function to get what you want. Compassion has the function to think, can I do something to relieve that suffering?
I was not talking about suffering of the other. I was talking about your own suffering.
Well,
It's
how?
your own suffering fuels.
Yes, of course. You should have compassion for yourself.
But
Of
it's your
course.
own suffering to fuel your compassion for the others. It starts by that.
Yes. So then?
So that the true authentic suffering starts by yourself.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. If you don't know suffering in yourself, how can you know suffering of others? You see, I used to be an alcoholic. I know how difficult it is to kick the habit, okay? So if somebody is just about to kick the habit and comes to me in the middle of the night, I can sit with them the whole night because I know they just need company. If somebody, I didn't have any children, if somebody comes who's about to give birth, I run away and try to find somebody else who knows how to deal with this. Instead of being so compassionate and, oh yeah, let's just try. That's not, you know, compassion always has to be paired with wisdom. So about this Tong Leng, because it sounds a little bit like, it sounds perverse, it sounds crazy, but it's not. So what we actually do, we start with ourselves. So what we're trying to do with this meditation of giving and taking is to, for a short moment, to forget about ourselves. But that, I have to say, only mentally stable, healthy people are allowed to do. If you think you're a nobody, if you think you are just like rubbish, if you think you don't deserve to be happy and your low self-esteem is like as big as New York, is like, you're not allowed to do that meditation. Then you have to think about all the good things that you do, and you need to have this ego or this I really comfortable. Yeah? So what we do, this is, and we're only going to do that tonight anyway. We think about ourselves, our future self. We wish for our future self to be happy. And we take the suffering of the future self on the present self now. We breathe it in and we bring it down to the heart where the self-cherishing is sitting, and we feel that resistance. You know, like we have a lot, why does, not every pain is suffering. What is suffering is when we don't understand. And when we resist and when we get depressed and all that, we lose all our wisdom. And we can't accept. Then it becomes really suffering. Pain is pain. Not necessarily suffering. It's only when there's this, and this no hope, it will end. You die, it's finished. I'm not saying you should go and commit suicide, okay? No, I'm not joking. You know, it's like suffering seems like forever and ever and ever. Everything is impermanent. So, but the meditation itself is to increase the courage to bear suffering. And you know, I don't know if I should say it. Okay, I will say it. But I don't need any therapy, okay? I have a lot of body pain. But I don't want and I don't need therapy. For me, it has become a little bit waste of time. But what I'm doing, I'm getting used to it. I allow the mind to get used to it. And then there's pain, and it doesn't disturb me. Because the mind is not saying, oh, I should not be there. And this is fantastic. Especially as you get older, I tell you. If I would have the choice between a body without pain or a body with pain and the mind who more or less can accept it, I tell you, I choose the second one. Really. Because now I can sit and there's pain and it doesn't matter. It doesn't disturb the mind. Or I walk and there's pain in the knee and then I feel the pain, but the mind is totally not disturbed. Sorry for all the yoga people and the physios and all these kind of people. You see, the mind has tremendous capacity to bear pain, but we don't allow it. We don't allow the mind to become used to it. This is what Shantideva says. Whatever you're used to, it comes easy. Do we have old people? Yeah, some are old, okay? Can I say that you're old? You're all old. I think about 40 is old, yeah? Yeah. It's okay. So relaxing to say, yes, I'm old. So what? I'm slower than others and da-da-da-da-da. It's okay if there's pain in the body. Have you ever noticed when it starts, when the pains in the body start, so much disturbance, you know, and you go, wow, this will never go away again. And you want to die. And then all of a sudden, you know, the pain is still there, but you don't notice anymore. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, it doesn't disturb me anymore, you know. But then another one comes and another one. And it's the same with each one. The first moments, you're disturbed. Then you get used used to it. That's such a relief. Not having to do everything not to have pain in the body. Just to allow it to be there. And that's it, and you relax. And then you do Tonglen, for example. If you know how to do this meditation, you think, all the old people like me who have pain, may they be free from pain. I take their pain on top of mine so that they can be free. And I give it to my self-cherishing who is resisting the pain and who doesn't want the pain. Here, you have it because you're the cause for the suffering. Now stop complaining because you created it. It's crazy. The self-cherishing is so crazy that it creates the suffering with the negative karma. When the result comes, it complains. And then we try to make it feel better instead of saying, hey, you created it, so now you shut up. This is the result. This is how I talk to my eye, but as you see, you need to have a lot of healthy self-confidence, which we Westerners don't have so much. The Asian people have, because they know underneath, I'm okay, because of pure nature, clear, Our mind is pure by nature. It's just covered with all this crap, especially with this wrong view of self-cherishing. So that's what you can do. And you're not doing it to lessen the pain. This is what many people misunderstand in Tonglen. They do Tonglen because they want to feel better. That's not the purpose. Then you do healing meditation or something like that, or Reiki, or, for me kind of meditation thing. Bit cruel, eh? But it's really like that. If you don't care, it's like a good mother. If you can help your children, you don't care if it makes you feel worse. Like, not enough food, you give it to your kids, you go hungry, not a problem. Right? So it's otherwise it would be like, I give my food to the children, and then I feel good, and then I won't feel the hunger anymore. No, it's not like that's not the purpose of Tonglen, of giving this meditation of giving and taking. Yeah. So, but we do start with ourselves. That we forget a little bit about the present self because we're so preoccupied with ourselves all the time. That is what makes us then so special. I guarantee everybody who's sitting here thinks that they are special. And everybody, me included. There's only one person who is special here, is me. All the others, they're not special. Sorry, Michael. No, you are very special. Everybody is very special. Then again, we become the same. Since we're all special, we're all the same. So like this, do you understand a little bit the idea? So what we do, the technique is, you can give this self-cherishing, so you're not destroying yourself, okay? We're destroying the wrong conception that we have of ourselves. Have you ever felt that this ego-cherishing mind here, it was there, but you didn't want to have it because it was not convenient for it to be there? Because it always comes in the moments when it's really not convenient for it to be there. It's like a spoiled child. You need to concentrate because there's a problem here, and then the kid comes, mommy, But the kid doesn't actually need anything, it just wants your attention. That's our self-cherishing. It always comes when it's not convenient to come in, when the problem is already there. So we visualize or we imagine it. You can give it whatever form you want. But it's not you. It's what we add. So you could think, you could visualize or imagine yourself as a beautiful person, the person you want to be, but that beauty is covered with this mask of self-cherishing. And you give that mask or whatever, you give it a form or name. Usually it's just a black rock, taking up all the space in our heart. Our heart would be limitless. We don't have to throw anybody out of our heart. We think we do, because then we are protected. Our enemies, we throw them out. We think that we're protected. What? Not at all. Then you're given the opportunity to attack you. Yeah? So you visualize it as a black rock in your heart, and then you have the light. You breathe in. You can visualize your future self. Can you see yourself as a future person? Can you imagine that you will exist tomorrow? Can you imagine that you will exist in 10 years? Of course, it's easy. That's what we think. We're eternal. Come on. How many times do you think, maybe tomorrow I'm dead? We don't even need to think. We have absolute conviction that tomorrow I'm still alive. It's totally not in in accord with reality, isn't it? But that's how we think. Could you see yourself as an old, demented, abandoned person? Alzheimer's? In a parent's home? Some of you are nodding. Can you really see yourself, like really? No. Doesn't happen to me. That's theory, you know. If you can really see that, that's fantastic. Because what does it do if you can see it like that?
I work with people.
Can you see yourself there?
Yeah.
Good.
All the time there.
Good.
All the week.
But no, can you see yourself in their place?
Why not?
No, not why not. Can you see yourself in there? But every time somebody has made caca in his pants, and you think, wow, this could be me in 20, 30 years. Do you think like that? That would make you a wonderful carer for these people. Because it could be us. Because none of these people has planned to make pee-pee caca in their pants. At one point they were exactly like us, thinking, this will never happen to me. Again, don't be in the head, theory, feeling. I have a feeling I will be a wonderful old lady. I can't even imagine being an old lady. Although I already am. Yeah, this is the thing, you know. This is so crazy. This I that doesn't age. It's ageless. You know, then it projects that, I will be this old woman. I can't see myself as an old woman. I can't imagine. So we start to imagine, demented, da. And then we think, may this old person, that is Ritha, in the future, may it be free from suffering. And we breathe in the suffering of this old person. Insecurity, can't hear anymore, can't follow the conversations. If I can follow them, I don't know what they're talking about. Being left alone because I always ask the same questions. That's what we do with old people, isn't it? They're not important in it. They're not interesting. We give an answer, but yeah, this is a banana over there. Like 10 times. But not with, yes, this is a banana. Isn't it? For those if you work with them. Because it's difficult. Yeah. Okay, so we think, may this one be free from all that suffering. And we take the suffering of the old person. Then you feel your ego going, are you crazy? Not now. I don't want this suffering now. It's soon enough when it comes in the future. Say, no, shut up. Now we take it, okay? So you take it. And it destroys the ego, the resistance. You feel it kind of resisting and growing until it explodes. Like a balloon. Yeah, like, don't want. And then when you breathe out everything that you would want as an old person that you already have. Patience, courage, compassion, healthy body if you want. It can be material things, it can be mental states, whatever. So that we start to develop this now, the patience, courage and all that. We get, because the courage we develop when we take the suffering now. So that's only the first step of Tonglen. Then we start to do it with other people. Because then we're not so frightened of the pain anymore, right? Then I am not important anymore. The other person is more important, that they are free from suffering, therefore I take it upon myself. You don't need to feel anything. You don't need to get the suffering. That's not important. What is important is that the other person is free from the suffering. So of course we just do it mentally, right? In order to be prepared. If we could do it, we would do it. For those people who've never heard it, does that sound feasible? Or does it sound very confusing and I don't know what I'm supposed to do? Yeah? It's not easy. Usually one doesn't do it so unprepared, but because there's so many people who know what we're doing, then maybe we can try to do it. Yeah? If there's fear coming up, it's good. Because we see it works. We have some kind of belief that this could work. The Tibetans, they start doing this with the whole universe. Can't remember who it was. I think it was Umzela, from the dialectic school, who was leading the meditation to Shita. And Geshe Koncho in Kopan, in the thing. And he said, now you breathe in the suffering of all hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, humans, suras, asuras, And so I was very inspired. I thought, wow, this is great, fantastic meditation. So I went like, what if it works? I said, no, thank you very much. Yeah, so you go in steps. You take the things that you could take. And if you feel resistance, then you actually can think, then you can open up a little bit towards the resistance, and you think there must be other people in this room who feel resistance to that. So I take on the resistance of those people so that they can be free from that resistance. And you're not judging yourself. Don't force yourself to do that, ever. This is so important. This is not it is to increase your courage, but it's not a test. I do it, therefore I'm courageous. No. You need to want to do this. You need to want to do this voluntarily. Why? And this I need to hear from one of you. Why do we do that? Or when are we ready to do that? When we have recognized that? What? When we have recognized what?
One?
Huh?
That we are
No.
not separated?
No. When we have recognized what?
That the source of my suffering is my self-cherishing.
Exactly. That the only enemy that we have is the self-cherishing. And that might be a long step till there. And you don't start with that, because otherwise you start to neglect yourself, and that's not what we want.
But by saying taking other suffering, you mean to suffer by yourself?
Yeah. You think if I could, I would take their suffering. That's quite big. If we see how we react, somebody sneezes next to you. You're not going to breathe in that suffering so you get all the bacteria of this other person. You go like, ooh. I hope I don't get that cold. And it's just the cold. And here we think we can breathe in cancer and AIDS and hell realms and all this. The Ora Kenan had a fantastic example. Do you remember the bus? Yes, she said, doing Tonglen is like you're in the street and in India. Then she didn't know how India is. Did you see the buses in India? What comes out of the exhaustion pipe? Black, And you think, so that nobody else gets this pollution, I breathe it in. This is the spirit of Tonglen. This is the spirit. And then you have the mind to think, the suffering, what the hell, let it come. Because we try to avoid the suffering, and by trying to avoid it, again, I know it's dangerous to say these things. I know it sounds perverse. But by opening up towards the suffering, the pain doesn't become suffering. Because we're prepared for it. We see it's part of our existence. But we think we should always be without suffering. And then we resist and we try to protect ourselves. And then we spend our whole life being afraid of cancer. And then maybe we die without having had cancer. Yeah. Paranoid about what could happen to us. And we can't enjoy the present anymore. Because we're so frightened what will happen tomorrow. So then if you have the mind very courageously that says, what the hell, let it come. Because something always continues. Something always continues. So this is kind of the spirit of the meditation. I'm not sure if you're prepared to do it. Otherwise just do breathing meditation. Or you don't think, may I be happy, may I be well, may I be free from suffering. Do we have questions to this, or shall we try it out? I see you're all tired, so you can take your tiredness in 2 hours if we're still here. How come you are so, most of you should see yourself, most of you are so tired. And how come the two of us who work, and it's also the kitchen, sorry, are not tired? You're just sitting, listening.
That's the reason.
Huh?
Maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason.
What you said 150 years ago, people did things.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's another thing, when you sit in meditation and you're quite okay, and then all of a sudden the mind goes a bit like this, and then you go, I'm so tired, and then boom, the tiredness comes. When you label it, that's when it becomes that thing. Before it's just, who knows what. Then you say, I am so tired, and it's watch, I guarantee you, when you walk out of here, you go to the Moadon, you drink a cup of tea, Your head is not falling into the tea because you're so tired. If you could talk after the meditation, you'd be fully awake. Chatting away until midnight. Don't allow the mind to drop like that. Don't. You know, this is enough. Think about Presidium Rebirth. Man, we're talking about emptiness here. You have a fantastic teacher who can explain it, you know. At one point you'll be totally free from all suffering. Not now, I'm trying. Next time. I want to go to bed. Go to bed. If you don't want to do the meditation, go to bed. Yeah. For those who want. Those who would like to, rather you're totally exhausted and you don't want to destroy your ego, that makes us tired and that wears us out. Go to sleep with your ego. Cherish it. Nourish it. Do what it tells you to do. Okay, Freya, turn down the light and then we get at this ego. No, it's the switch. The switch. Yes, okay. Good, so thank you very much for playing the game of laughing before the meditation. It really helps. We're too serious sometimes, far too serious. You have to bring some lightness into your practice. All right. No, that's okay. All right, thank you. Just relax. This is so important. Be relaxed but awake. As best as you can. And also a sense of contentment, even though you're tired, maybe. Can you produce that? Tired, yes. But why? Because we worked very hard. So it's okay. It's okay to be tired and you sleep better. So again, to make it very clear when we do Tonglen, if we don't analyze, we do identify with the self-cherishing. But the moment you look, you don't really identify with it anymore. That's why awareness is so important, awareness of it. Making the step out of the emotion, not possessing it. Like, this is not me, but I have it. So Jung said that. And just remember moments when the self-cherishing was present, this kind of exaggerated sense of me or I, self-importance. Not thinking about consequences. Saying that nasty word. Doing that negative act. Forgetting about the happiness of others. That's what the self-cherishing does. It cannot see the need and the right for others to be happy. It's my happiness and nothing else. And even if you give your self-cherishing every time what it wants, it will never be satisfied. It's like a spoiled child. It will want more and more and more and more. Just maybe picture or visualize a spoiled child, surrounded, sitting in its mountains of toys, screaming for the next toy. Do you think that child is happy? So self-cherishing is not us, yeah? You're not trying to destroy ourselves. We're trying to destroy, with this visualization, it's a visualization that can help the understanding because it can create some space. We're trying to destroy the misconception that we have not the ego, not ourselves, but the wrong conception that we have of who and what we are, the center of the universe. So think about what will happen tomorrow for you when you get home. Think about the problems that you might encounter. At work, in the traffic. Everything that you find undesirable. And feel that strong wish that we all have to be free from all types of suffering, dissatisfactions. And you have a right to be free from all this suffering. Nobody says suffering is good and we should suffer because we're bad people or anything like that. But suffering has causes, and the causes in the past we followed our self-cherishing mind. We're just concerned about our own happiness, neglected others, and even created negativities. And then the suffering that comes now, that's the result. So then we try to find the mind that wishes our future I or me to be happy. May I find what I'm looking for? May I be at peace with whatever is? May I be the person that I want to be? And then you try to forget a little bit about your present self, your tiredness, your heaviness, being fed up, whatever. Think, it's not so important now. It's not so big as it seems. But my future, I should be happy. The one from tomorrow, next week, next month, next years. And you think because that present I has a lot of suffering already, it's not so important. Therefore, I take upon myself all the unwanted things of my future I, me, self. That my future I, me, or self can have the things that I want. So we can do this in a very general way. When you breathe in, you think that you're breathing in hot, sticky, heavy, dark. This is usually what unwanted things would be pictured or present. And you give it to that self-cherishing mind who is always running away from difficulties, doesn't want to transcend the suffering, but wants to avoid it, doesn't want to understand. Prevents us from doing things that we actually would want to do and would be meaningful, but because it's frightened and lazy, holds us back. That one. So you can give it a form, or a name, or a color. Usually they say sitting like a black rock in the heart region, like in the middle of the body, the upper body. Taking up all the space, only thinking about oneself. Out there, there's so many people. I am just one. Yet that happiness of that one person is more important than the happiness of all others out there. Such a perverted view. So that self-cherishing doesn't want any suffering. Not even your own suffering of the future, but still now you don't listen to it. And you breathe in all the unwanted things that you could encounter. As I said, in the form of black, heavy, sticky, hot, dark. You give it to this self-cherishing thought, or to this misconception of thinking that there's a real I. And with the power of this wisdom that it actually doesn't exist the way that it appears, it just explodes. Or if there's resistance, you can feel the resistance growing. The ego, the I, self-cherishing blows up and then it explodes. And then out of that luminous space you breathe out light, cool, healing, fresh, pure. And you give it to your future self so you can have what you want. You can be the person that you want to be. And you just keep doing that. You give yourself everything that you have now that you think is good. Your good relations with others, your ability to love, to have humor, your ability to love and have compassion, your wisdom. Everything that you would want to keep, you give it to your future I. Everything you don't want, you take. As you breathe in, may I be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. As you breathe out, may I have happiness and the causes of happiness. And you visualize not you are disappearing, but the wrong you of thinking that there's an inherently, independently, self-existent I, separate from the body and the mind. Somehow we're very inspired when we hear about selflessness, selfless acts, not thinking about ourselves but being there for others. But we can't do that when there's a strong sense of me, I, needy, nutniki. So that's what we're destroying. The coward, the wrong you. You breathe out the light, you give yourself everything that you possibly want. So don't hold anything back. It can be material things, relationships, mental states. And very often we discover that even though we're very selfish, we have problems giving ourselves what we really want. There seems to be a perverted kind of fear that says, I don't deserve to be happy. Because when you're happy, this self-existent I becomes very small. So we grasp onto those problems that are food for the self-cherishing. As you breathe out, check. Am I allowing myself to receive whatever I want? Or am I punishing myself for something? Could I deal with being a happy person? A free person? Free from suffering and self-cherishing? Could I live with that? Check. As we breathe in, may I be free from suffering and the causes of suffering on all levels. I will have to get old, but may I be free from the suffering of being whatever you're most afraid of. Old age we will have to bear if we don't die young. Death we will have to bear in the conventional level. As you breathe out in the form of light, you give yourself everything you want. So at least we become aware of what is really important for me. What do I really want? And you give yourself patience, courage, compassion, love, wisdom. Be happy and have the causes for happiness. The happier you are, the easier it is to work with the self-cherishing mind. That's a great purpose. To be able to recognize this misconception so that I can be of benefit to others. That's the purpose. I want to be happy because if I'm not happy, there's no way I can make others happy. That's the purpose. As you breathe in, you breathe in everything that will bother you, think might bother you in the future. So again, here we have to become very clear. What is it that I'm most afraid of? Can I really do something about this, or do I just have to learn to accept? Because it will happen anyway. Self-cherishing doesn't want it. That's where the suffering comes from. This black smoke that represents all these unwanted things hits it like a laser beam, destroys it into 1,000 pieces. As you breathe out, give yourself everything that you think is important. So we become very clear and we don't have to get upset about the things anymore that are definitely not important. Or, as Shantideva says, we're not getting upset again about things that there's nothing we can do about. Just getting upset doesn't solve the problem. Might look like compassion and empathy, but it's not. It's based on self-cherishing because we can't do anything about this. And then we think being upset, that's good enough. It never helps. So in case we are able to kind of create some space in our heart through this meditation, and we just share it, the result of our practice, a good, open, caring heart. So from this heart, we send out light rays that represent compassion and wisdom to light up all the dark corners in this world. You can send it to individual people, you can send it to specific regions, you can send it to the whole universe. Through the power of my practice, may all beings attain lasting happiness and well-being. So we can end this Tonglen meditation with a very specific dedication by Khenpo Gyaltsen, I think, when he said, "When I am well, I am happy, because I dedicate the well-being and happiness of all. Like, may my happiness become the cause for all beings' happiness. When I suffer, I am happy, because I take upon myself the suffering of all. May the suffering of the ocean of samsara quickly be exhausted." Okay, good night.